Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy stream. Today we are playing Ben D's Sorin Tell. So, Sorin Imperius is Bloodlord Ultimate, which I hesitate to call it that because it's like a -3 and it can do it immediately, is that you can put a vampire creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this deck looks to put in like a big bad, like Chancellor of the Dross. And as it turns out, a lot of decks can't beat a flying life-linking 6/6. That's the plan. That's how we're going to try to steal wins tonight. And the rest of the deck is a vampire tribal deck with a lot of cards that are, well, I'm just going to come right out and say it. They're questionable. Like, Assail and Visitor. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Okay. Stormkirk Condemned. Discard a card. Vampires you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn. Kind of like a Lord, but you can only activate this once a turn. And I guess you can bring back Bloodghast as well as Silver Smoked Ghoul. Beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So, like, individually, the cards that we're playing are not good. These cards are not legacy playable cards. But maybe there's this weird world where we, like, discard a Bloodghast, pump the team, crash in, play a land, Cabal Therapy, name the right cards, sacrifice Bloodghast to Cabal Therapy, do the thing. So, I don't know if we're going to win, but every win counts as 2. That's kind of how I feel tonight. We do have some cool cards in here. Vampire Nocturnus is a card that like was a big splashy mythic a little after I started playing Magic. So like I'm super hyped to see this card again. I haven't seen this in a while. When the top card of your library is black, it and all other vampires you control have +2/+1 in flying, which is admittedly pretty hype. So there's this weird gambling game of like, all right, is it the right card there or not? If so, my attacks are awesome. If not, oh. As far as the sideboard goes, notably we have Vampire Nighthawk, best vampire. That's very, very important. Otherwise, it's mostly normal mono black stuff. Notably, we do have Smallpox as a creature tribal deck, which is a little weird, but a bunch of our vampires do come back. So, I don't know how this league is going to go, but hopefully it's fun. All right, if you're hyped for this and you've been enjoying my content and you're watching on the YouTube end, please consider liking the video, commenting, all that sort of stuff. It helps out more than you know. And we should be nearing 3,000 views. I forgot to update the little counter here before I started, but I think it was about 20 away as of the beginning of this recording. Hello, Future Phil here for a quick note. During the deck tech, I was worried that we were not going to win any games with this deck. I just want to say I ended up being wrong, and we somehow end up winning a lot with this deck. So apologies for some of the things I said during the deck tech. This deck ends up getting there a lot. I don't know how, but I hope you enjoy. Round 1 hand. We got to ship that first one back. KDT, thank you very much for the support. I'm glad you enjoyed Ruby Storm. Okay. So, turn 1 Thoughtseize you. Turn 2 Stormkirk Condemned. Discard Silver Smoke Ghoul, which I can't immediately bring back, but I can maybe bring back later. I don't really feel like this is a legacy hand quite. But keep. If I do get a way to gain life, like if I do find a Sorin, this does actually become pretty powerful. All right, I'll keep this on 6. I'll pitch one of these. We have disruption and pressure, huh? Yeah. Yeah, that's what we've got. Oh man, opponent is mulliganing to 5. Maybe we win via Thoughtseize. Maybe we Thoughtseize them and they concede in response. So KDT, I enjoyed playing the Ruby Storm a lot. I made a lot of mistakes in my first couple of rounds. I may or may not have actually have read one of the cards in my deck correctly. So there were some better lines available, shall we say, but it didn't end up mattering. I mean, it did. It mattered. I had better things to be doing, but holy shit, is a mono black mirror. um, what do I take? I don't know that the hymn actually matters, despite the fact that it's a 2-for-1. I think I just take this Entomb. That's the thing that's potentially the most broken here. This one's going to just explode on YouTube. Every time I play a mono black deck, it just does better than my other videos. And now we're like mono black mirror in round 1. Oh shit, it's a combo! I can discard this to pump my team, and then return it with a land. This is actually somewhat hilarious. Maybe we should have added a reanimation package to this deck. Full disclosure, I was going to workshop this deck before playing it, and then the cards for Enchantress were out of stock, so I couldn't play Enchantress tonight. So we're just doing this one as the donor submitted it. No changes. Now my opponent might be going, hold on, they have a discard outlet, and they didn't take my hymn. Do I hymn them? They hymned me. They hymned themselves. That is like some fucking baller shit right there. I respect that so much right now. It's just crazy. Like, do I therapy them? I don't like. I can therapy them and 100% take that card, but I feel like if they have a reanimation card in hand, they just like fucking earned it. So I'm not gonna Cabal therapy their last card. They earn a win. Like if they randomly kept a reanimation card there, like it's on them. Happy birthday, Felchmaster. Plus, in all seriousness, I want to keep this Cabal therapy and discard it next turn. Like, this turns Cabal therapy into Lightning Bolt. That I can then flash back and try to take a card, if that makes sense. Like, in my heart, I knew that Hymn to Turok is target player because, like, you have to click it when you cast the spell. But I don't think I've ever Hymn to Turok myself. Hold up. All right. So I just get to discard this Cabal therapy, and it saves my dude. That's fucking hot. This league is great. You have an activated ability, right? Sacrifice this to draw a card. Okay, I don't want to do that. Oh my god. We did it. Alright, so we have this pile of ley lines. Get in here. Um, then a lot of these other cards actually look reasonable. Like, discard's fine, edicts are fine. Liliana the Veil, like, Vampire Nighthawk for sure. I think we need to board in that card every round. Honestly, it should be in the main deck. It's so beautiful. Elegance of design right there. Alright, so we need this. We need these. I need this. And these are maybes. So you can probably go out. My slower things should probably come out here. That probably means these. Um, okay, so Chancellor of the Dross is like super awkward here, right? Because my opponent like hymns me and puts one of those into the graveyard and then reanimates it. Like, uh-oh. It's actually not good. So Sorin's plus is still fine. He's are you alright. Maybe on the draw I board these out. Maybe on the draw I board those out. I only have 14 creatures now? Oh no, that's not a lot. Am I just being a coward? Maybe I'm just being a coward. And I should like board out some of this stuff. No. Maybe some of the Hymn to Turok type stuff is a little risky. Alright, yeah. Maybe let's not him. I'll keep you because you're a body. Same with you too, I guess. Alright, awkward. Belchmaster, I made no changes to this deck list. So this this hand goes Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize, Cabal Therapy on turn 1. Then turn 2 plays Bloodghast and flashes back Therapy. Is this better than a Leyline hand? I don't think it's better than a Leyline hand. I would keep this in a heartbeat on the play. Ooh, 2 Leylines. Plus Dark Ritual into Silver Smoke Ghoul. Keep. I don't think my opponent can actually take a Leyline off the table. Alright. This is a great example of keeping a hand that has hate and nothing else and probably losing for it, but... You know. Here we are. I was just straight up no play. Deal? So, best Dark Ritual ever cast in Legacy, or what? Clock's already in play. It's too late. Yeah, it's like turn 1 flip Delver. Minus, like, a lot of the things that make Delver good. like the evasion and the pitching to force of will. Okay, I think they just straight up F6 their first turn. Alright, in a graveyard. So I can take Animate Dead so they can't get my stuff back, or I can just take Grave Titan, which is the hard castable soon-ish off a Dark Ritual. I think I'm just going to go ahead and take the Grave Titan. I don't have a creature card in graveyard yet. Getting to Leyline was a good choice. Oh, baby. Another one. We're going to have 6 power in play. That's 2 turns. I think we get this one. We'll see if my opponent entombs to take a card out of their deck here. Yep. The classic desperation deck thinning play. I assume they're just gonna like take another Entomb out. Oh, that's yeah. Makes sense to take out a card that you literally can't cast. Alright. Battle, 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 battle. I'll leave my Wasteland untapped because I don't remember the exact wording of Lake of the Dead off the top of my head. Hello? Scoreboard? 1. I don't believe it. Okay, so the round 2 hand is sort of awkward. This is a hand that kind of has Hymn to Turok and nothing else. Like, we have the Chancellor of the Dross, but not a Sorin, so I think I'm gonna mulligan this one. Sorin? Check. Chancellor of the Dross? Check. 2-drop to play beforehand? Check. Snap it off. Get rid of that, despite the fact that it would be good later. Isn't Garzazol a, like, Grixis card? Like, that's 3 different colors, right? Opponent over there trying to figure out what on earth plays Chancellor of the Dross. Yeah, I like the thing about Chancellor of the Dross though is that it eventually becomes castable, right? Whereas the same is not true of Garzazol. So I can just play this aggressive 3-1, or I can just Cabal Therapy a Force effect, which I think is what I want to do in this turn cycle. It's really awkward that my opponent is just going to play an Ice Fang Coatl, chump this Chancellor of the Dross, and I am going to be sad. Fucking deal. I wasn't even gonna name that. Yes. We got the 2-for-1 Cabal therapy where I would have named wrong. Unless they do also have Force of Will in hand. Here we go. Opponent is reading cards. Honestly, if they just have like Swords to Plowshares here. Alright, I would have hit. I would have hit. I wonder if there was a world where it was better to just wasteland this and play Asylum Visitor in this turn cycle. So we're a little far away from stuff. But the good news is we've maybe mana screwed our opponent. Nope, just land off the top. Don't mind if I do. Please don't discard an Uro. I don't know if my poor little heart can take it. Alright. So they forced 3 different things. In past Legacy metagames, this would mean that I would be pulling ahead because my opponent has 2-for-1 themselves 3 times. But what's going to happen now is my opponent's just going to like have Oko as their last card or something of that caliber, and then they're going to recoup all that card advantage. Death Touch things are really good against what I've got going on here. Card isn't really good here. Like, this is a 4-mana card that 2-for-1 me, and like it's just going to trade with one of those. Alright, my opponent is just cantripping like crazy. So this is like an old card too, so we don't even get to cast these things that we're looking at. I also think my opponent should have attacked with either 1 or 2 of these. I guess I want to put this Planeswalker into play next turn. This is awkward since I don't have more stable mana. No, actually, I want to minus this and put this in play. But again, like, all these things have Death Touch. Just not good for me. Yeah, so normally mono black decks aren't very good at competing against snow decks. But I think it's worse than normal here because like I have so many creatures that are just bad against a Death Toucher, and a lot of times the mono black decks can ignore that, but I can't do that this time. Yeah, okay, so that's the card that beats us. So our opponent will flash that back next turn, and then they're gonna recoup from their first 3 Force of Will effects. Like I still have a pile of things that I can't get through. Yeah. I think I'm just dead. Not literally, but in effect. I don't have removal spells, right? Like that's not a thing that I do. Yeah, I don't have removal spells, so that Uro hitting play, like that's just there forever. How big is Chancellor of the Dross? It's a 6/6, so it just trades with Uro. Yuck. Alright, I'm going to play out a turn cycle or two to just like see how this feels, but I'm pretty sure we just can't beat Snow. Spoiler, that's Legacy right now. There will be some turn cycles where this is just larger than uh Uro, and so I can play defensively in those turn cycles. But this is definitely feel bad. No, no like first strike or anything. Rude. I don't know, maybe like the top card of our library is a black card, and I attack in for a bunch somehow. Dead of Winter. Dead of Winter ate my entire board and left their entire board. Alright, we're done. I'm drawing a swamp. Like, okay. Yeah, Reaple Jeep, hit me up via Discord at some point later. Uh, yeah, I don't think we're well suited to this matchup. Like, we have some recursive cards, but I don't have ways to take, like, I don't have any card that, like, destroys target planeswalker or anything. So, generally speaking, I think I'm just going to have a bad time with this matchup. I'm going to board in a pile of planeswalkers, some land destruction, I guess. Probably play this. Man, Icefang Coatl is so good against a huge portion of this deck. I don't think I can be sacrificing my own creatures to Cabal Therapy. I think the way that I win is like aggroing my opponent out before they get going. I think I need to cut that. Maybe I can't Smallpox. Maybe Smallpox prolongs the game, which is actually better for them. And they have more card advantage than I do. Yeah, maybe the plan is aggro them out and try to stabilize the mid game via planeswalkers. Uh, but I just conceptually, I don't think I win this. If I draw a third land, this hand is actually really good. Play this Stormkirk, Condemned, discard 2 Bloodghasts, play a land, get them back. If I don't draw that other land, Hands loose. Him first? Probably him first. It does suck that this takes away my most aggressive possible line. I mean, I I'm exaggerating ever so slightly when I say this, but oh hell yeah. But basically only the two viable decks right now are Snow and Rug Delver, and everything else is very considerably behind that. So like if you want a like very clearly tier 2 strategy that will struggle with the Snow matchup, like yeah, that's fine. But like would I recommend taking Maverick to a tournament? Absolutely not. All right. Discard a Bloodghast. Fuck! Activate this ability only once a turn, so I should have done that once on my opponent's turn. Alright. Slight misplay on my end. We'll discard the other one via Liliana, but we don't get it back this turn. Actually, is Lily even good? Lily's awkward. It's like, going down cards against Sylvan Library isn't the plan. Maybe I should just get more aggressive. I can Madness one of these next turn. Alright, for the memes. But I wish I had remembered about the Bloodghast thing. I could have 2 more points of power in play right now. Just didn't seem like I know I read that during the deck tech, but it's not the sort of thing that feels like it should only be limited once a turn. God, if it wasn't limited once per turn and I could actually save my stuff here, that would be cool. All right, I have a way to potentially win now, like for reals. We're gonna just plus this and hope that everything else we can do serves as a distraction so that I actually get to Ultimate Liliana. The issue is that like something like an Oko coming down is just going to kill me. Like Oko convert Astrolabe into an Elk, attack Lily is just disastrous, and I'll lose the game to that. Nice Magic Online lag there, but what I described exactly just happened. Alright, so land, yes, I'll return Bloodghast. I will plus on this. I, for some reason, have now moved through combat. Oh, this is hasty. Shit, I should have played the second Bloodghast. I was just planning on playing double Asylum Visitor, though. I wanted to play double Asylum Visitor and Bloodghast the following turn. No, I have not. I've heard good things. No blocks there. Lily can take one. Oh, great. My moto lag is bad, so I can't do what I want to do. That's really frustrating. I was trying to set a stop on my draw step so I could wasteland during the draw step because doing it there is really important. Yep. That's not unexpected. I think this just goes face, and I ignore the Oko. I can kill the Oko here, though. Could probably kill the Oko. Alright, I'm gonna kill the Oko. I don't want to regret that later. Like, if I kill the Oko, and then my opponent, like, board wipes or something, which is one of the worst case scenarios that can happen right now, I have the possibility of, like, coming back from that via Bloodghast from the graveyard. But if I go for broke and try to kill... hmm, yeah, if I try to kill my opponent and it doesn't work, it's relatively disastrous for me. The second Oko plus a 1-mana removal spell there was brutal. I lose my Planeswalker. Vampire Nocturnus plus black card on top would be cool. Phyrexian Tower is considerably less cool. And now we're just going to lose to Oko, unfortunately. This is basically the point where I am ready to concede. But I guess I can play out another turn or two. Because we're so close that, like, legitimately top decking something like a Vampire Nocturnus could do it. Now I can't F6. I need to hold up activating Phyrexian Tower to stop Swords of Plowshares from exiling my stuff. I think I just want to return this now while it can't be, like, surgical. I said always yes to that. I guess it moved zones and now it's not happy. Yeah, like, obviously we're playing a worse deck than our opponent, right? But, like, the series of things that they've had off the top there have been just disgusting. So you're telling me there's a chance. Holy shit. Send them in? Send them in. So I draw this Thoughtseize next turn, which is going to be a dead card. Wow, opponent going to 1 rather than blocking the other Bloodghast. Alright, opponent, like, you have 1 card left. You didn't cast it. I will play the Thoughtseize that you know is on the top of my library. Sure. Like, that costs me 2 life. That's fine. Losing to Oko is so miserable. Like, it's miserable from a gameplay perspective. It's the same thing that's been happening for a very long time. So, like, I'm sick of it. So is everyone else. And it just, like, invalidates all the cool things that my deck could do. Like, now my, like, lethal attack with hasty things from the graveyard is no longer valid. Like, I can get in 2 points of damage here, but it just doesn't matter. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and concede this one and move on to the next one. Like, this is just not gonna be fun. Okay, so I have 5 mana on turn 1. So I think I keep this hand. Or alternatively, I have a decent amount of mana spread across multiple turns. Um, Either way, I start with, I think, Dark Ritual Hymn to Torok. Not the most, like, synergistic Sorin-based line or anything, but the information here matters a lot. Flooded Strand and Ether Vial. So maybe Esper Vial. We're not going to beat that deck in a long fight. All right. Don't judge me, chat. Don't judge me for this. Yeah. That's more or less where I'm at. Like, I have Death and Taxes plus most of the things to build the various splash versions that I could want to play. And that's where I'm at. I don't have my big collection anymore. That was converted into a car. I love Legacy, but it's harder and harder to just be a champion for Legacy when so much of the gameplay is just so repetitive. Sure. I'm gonna get another card out of Asylum Visitor on my turn if it makes it back around. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun playing Vintage recently. I 5-0'd with a really sick mono white hate bears list. I was helping Dr. Bill test for mana traders, and I had a lot of fun with that. Every time I get really burnt out on Legacy, I just play some other format. Another Swords to Plowshares. All right, the good news is next turn I can make a Chancellor of the Dross. All right, it's a little unfortunate that our opponent found Ether Vial, but it is what it is. I assume that I am going to wasteland that Caracas. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm about 90% sure that's what's happening, especially now. The real question is, like, can I afford to wait a turn? To keep my Planeswalker? I don't know that I can. My opponent has used 2 Swords to Plowshares already. But if they just have something like a Baleful Strix, it's really bad for me. If this is a splashed version of D&T, I should just, like, jam this thing right now. But if this is Esper Vial, then I should wait. I lean towards this being Esper Vial, like, based on these batch lands, but, like, I could be wrong. The fact that we saw, like, Plains plus Caracas naturally, like, means there's some world where this is just D&T. I think my opponent might beat me if this game goes long. So, YOLO. Let's go. 6/6 flying lifelinker. If they didn't have the Ether Vial, I would wait. I would like to confirm what deck my opponent is playing before this round ends, if possible. Before this game ends. I don't know that I'm really going to have much choice in sideboarding. Like, I'll bring in a smallish pile of removal spell / planeswalkers, and that's what I can do. The fact that this isn't literally a 3-turn clock, and instead is, like, a 3-turn clock plus 2 other damage that I need to find somewhere is spooky. If I lose this game, it is going to be a miserable loss because I'm probably going to be at, like, either 36 or 42 life before my opponent removes this. I'm gonna hold that land in hand. I have blood gas to be thinking about later. I guess technically they could also be the blue-white spirits deck. Also, not having access to main deck removal is going to be brutal here. Now my opponent can just like have something like a Flicker Wisp or some other flyer, and then like my big baddie does nothing. It's pretty embarrassing if we lose to a deck that did nothing for this long, but like it is what it is. All right, well, what you got? That's unfortunate. Yeah, okay. So now our main avenue of attack was invalidated. Either take the recruiter or they take over the game. It looks like they are just death and taxes. I don't know why they have so many fetch lands. Like, if they have seen this many, that probably means that they have considerably more in their deck. So that's 1, 2, 3 fetch lands that they've seen in 15 cards. Yeah, it's more likely black for Plague Engineer. Yeah, so this game is going to be miserable now. Like, when I find another card that matters, it gets Skyclaved. My opponent can attack, like, once they find equipment or something, and I can't. Uh, this one's going to be boring. I also don't have, like, a good card draw engine that, like, can't be Skyclaved, so the staring contest is not good. And then eventually, like, something like that is just going to happen and the game is going to start to fall apart. All right. I think I'm comfortable just conceding. Like, I don't know that I win from here. I have a bunch of life, but if my opponent plays safely, I probably don't win from here. I don't know. Maybe there's a world where I just... Alright, I would like to figure out their other color. I'm going to stay in the game until I figure that out, and then I'll concede. But that's kind of a big deal here. Yes, I am not technically dead. Like, there are things that can get me out of this game, but my opponent has 5 power on board and an answer to my next threat, and I don't have any removal in my main deck. Like, my opponent doesn't know this, but if they were turning all of these things sideways, I would be so much deader. Undra. Is it possible they actually are Espervile and they just drew like entirely Death and Taxes based stuff for the first 10 turns? Because it doesn't really just make sense to splash for blue in Death and Taxes. Don't even think I play that yet. I can have a big turn later. If this is Espervile, then I am already dead. Like, they can do so many things as this game drags on, and I have no ability to close this game. Don't even think I wasteland them. Like, that Tundra is not really doing anything, whereas me vomiting 4-5 spells in a turn might. Okay. I guess technically wasting the Tundra does do some things. It prevents some of the like instant recruiter and flicker wisp based lines. But if I'm holding 3 mana worth of stuff, I do want to have other mana available in play to do things with. Okay, that's great. I can hymn them, take both cards out of their hand, and then play this. It can't get Skyclaved. My opponent will put that in as just a 2/2 unless they have something. You could just put that in as a 2/2! You could just put that in as a 2/2! I am upset on their behalf. Okay. All right. I guess I shouldn't have done that. I'm getting Hellbent so I can draw new cards, by the way. Sarpadian Empires? Maybe a Kobold? Kobold Drill Sergeant. I think Kobold Drill Sergeant is the card that I'm most scared of here. It wasn't there. Rats. Fine, Andy, I just got Hellbent. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So I get a card because they are Hellbent here. Thoughtseize is not particularly great, but whatever. My opponent does have blue. Oh, I see. Me being Hellbent here didn't actually get me anything because they were also Hellbent. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Awkward. The draw? Or is you draw a card and lose a life? Awkward. Well, I guess not entirely awkward. Hit him with another blast from the past. Hmm. Shivan Dragon? Shivan Dragon. Yeah, these discard spells are like never going to be good though, right? So I might as well get them out of my hand because on later turns I might have like a card from their turn and then a card from my turn, and it ends up working out well for me that I don't have these other things in my hand or something. I don't know. Like these discard spells are not something that I want to accumulate. But I need some like ace damage or something. And again, I would really like to see something from my opponent that lets me know why they have blue. That's the whole reason that I haven't conceded here. They have Mother of Runes. Like, they're doing just fine on the front of, like, playing around removal. Oh shit, this flies? This flies. This flies. Oh my god. Attack. I might actually be mad if my opponent has like a Flicker Wisp here. Oh. Oh wow. Um I know we were all expecting me to win that one. You know I was just putting on a show for you all, talking about how little hope there were and all the misery that was there. You caught me, chat. I knew all along that's how we were going to win. um Planeswalkers, sexy card, Edict. Why are they blue? I don't want therapy. I think I do want Inquisition, maybe. This is a legendary creature, which is not great versus Caracas. I don't feel like these are ever realistically going to get there. Like, recursive stuff is cool and all, but my opponent has, like, equipment and things like Thalia. I think I mize games off of, like, Discard or Sorin Chancellor or Planeswalkers. It's possible that I should smallpox and like stay on all of the recursive creatures. I have 21 lands. Like the opposing deck has more mana than I do. And they have Ether Vial to operate without it. I will snap off the hand that allows me to play Liliana Last Hope on turn 1. Please let my opponent lead on Mom and not Vial. Mmm. 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 Delicious. I don't even feel bad about this. Photo lag, though? I need more mana than what I have access to now, but hopefully, like, a Thoughtseize plus a Liliana is enough. Hey, Lone Raider, welcome. Yeah, the ultimate would be sick for sure. Becomes awkward if they have multiple pieces of equipment here. God damn it. I don't have any answers to artifacts. So which one of these things can I beat? Either. Realistically. I could draw an answer to the Stoneforge Mystic next turn, but then, like, the Sword of Fire and Ice is good for every creature after that. They can also just draw a land and get rid of my Skyclave. Alright, how do I get this Liliana ultimate? The Liliana can go to 5 this turn. Then I can draw land, Sorin minus, block, Liliana goes to 6. And I can draw a creature, Liliana goes to 7. And I ultimate. I think I take Batterskull. But this is very much not good for me. I also think I might need to restart Moto before this next round. The lag's not ridiculous, but it's noticeable. The client used to be like snappy for hours and hours and hours for me. But an update about a month ago made things considerably worse somehow. In that way that, like, only happens to Moto things. Alright, they drew the land, so Lily gets answered. And it probably becomes pretty difficult for me to win from here. Oh, they're not just playing out the Skyclave. Interesting. JD, I'm doing a big reward of some kind once the YouTube channel hits 3,000 subs. To be determined reward, though. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. Yeah, now I'm actually in much better shape. Since they didn't just ult. Or sorry, since they didn't just Skyclave. Oh shit, Containment Priest, right. I forgot about that. That card was so not relevant with the stuff that I saw earlier. But that's actually not bad for me either, right? Does make life for my opponent difficult. And I'm keeping that sword out of play, and every turn that I keep that sword out of play is a turn that, like, my opponent isn't drawing cards and burying me. No, I have no interest in doing a stream entirely in Latin. That's not something I plan to ever do. The one YouTube video was fun, but that's that's the extent to which I want to do that. All right, I'm glad I got to see them casting Skyclave Apparition. Oh wait, I didn't get to see any of that. Thanks, Moto. Okay. Vampire Nocturnus is just gonna get eaten by Skyclave. I don't think I get this game from here, but I said that last time too. The Sorin is off. Skyclave answers this. At least Nocturnus will let me know what's on top of my library. I should really actually be thinking about conceding for... I was about to say conceding for my clock, but that's potentially another, like, 5/4 flyer in the hole. My opponent fetches with Prismatic Vista. Chat says that they have casted a Mother of Runes. I can't see that yet. All right. So now they're holding up putting that sword in, and they have wastelanded me. That sword is going to ruin me. I don't think I get too much choice about what I do here. Like the way that I win is pretty straightforward, right? It's my opponent doesn't have a flyer, and I crash in and attack in the air for a bunch of damage. But my clock is kind of weird in that can't interact with Moto here. Cool. Thanks, Moto. My clock's kind of weird in that any turn where I don't draw a or I don't have a black card on top of my library puts me in kind of a weird spot. My opponent can hit me with Containment Priest, attack in with the other two creatures on Sorin, and I take 4 and Sorin dies. Alright, and that's exactly what's happening. Okay, like, neither player's clock is moving, Moto. Like, come on. Alright, so what has happened? Opponent has played Spirit of the Labyrinth, which prevents them from drawing cards. Nice, that actually favors me. So my opponent is dead next turn if there is a black card on top of my library. Despite having a reasonable mix of lands and spells, I don't think this hand actually does anything relevant. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan it. This hand playable. I don't have double black for this. This would be the card that goes back. This card's not drawing me cards anytime soon. Don't have a third land to bring this back from the graveyard. I think I go to 5. Uh, this is not good. Like, there is no plan here. Plan is cast 2 Bloodghasts. Like, keep 2 Bloodghasts and a Vampire Nocturnus. I don't know, maybe I can't really operate on 4 without it being the absolute nuts. Alright. Opponent says they're a big fan of the channel. If we hit a couple of lands or a Hymn to Turok or something in the middle, like maybe this ends. Are we playing another fucking mono black mirror? Oh, we are. Joke is on you, opponent. I am getting a Bloodghast ahead of schedule. This is like legit funny. They get a lol. Oh yeah, Moto. Now you're snappy. Now you're doing your thing again. All right, Cabal Therapy. Target them. I need my other land. I'm gonna name him to Turok. Ooh, Dark Confidant and Stoneforge Mystic. They are dead guy ale. Both of those cards are insane versus me. We'll be casting this again. I think I need to take the Stoneforge. I just have no, like, literal no answers to pieces of equipment. Yeah, it definitely feels bad leaving them with the Bob, but, like, that's where I'm at. Alucartez, you were saying? um, Dead? Like, opponent has this Lily that shreds my hand. I think I concede here. I think this is the point where I don't show them cards. Alright, I want this other piece of discard on the play. I want these Planeswalkers. I think I want Edicts. I'm not sure about Smallpox. Again, I only have 21 lands. I don't think I want this. I think my opponent's likely to side in some graveyard hate, so I think I want to trim on these. And if I'm trimming on those, I probably need to go down on some or all therapies, and we'll board in Vampire Nighthawk for good luck. Obviously love running into Dead Guy Ale in leagues. So what are you bored for if you're the opponent and you see 2 Bloodghasts along with, like, basic swamps? Never mind. Like, he's playing against me. Like, he knows it's probably some BS mono black deck, right? Or sorry, they know that. That is indeed Vampire Nocturnus. We also have Chancellor of the Dross, which actually looks like a Graboid from Tremors at a glance, right? Like, I get that like there's a head here, but that just definitely looks like a Graboid mouth to me. So you have walked in on Sorin Tell is what the donor called it. A vampire tribal pseudo show and tell deck. All right. I have a 1-2 punch of Inquisition and Thoughtseize, and something that's good if I end up getting Hellbent. I'm gonna keep this. How's it worked so far? Well, define worked. We have done some things. It's been entertaining. Okay, yeah, there are 2 surgicals. So if I take Dark Ritual, my opponent kind of has nothing going on for a little while. So I'm going to do that. I don't know if opponent was supposed to keep that hand. That one's a little sketch. I don't know, like maybe seeing double Bloodghast, like as basically the only things that they saw, meant that they valued surgicals very highly. And having 2 of them is totally reasonable. I'm going to take that as like this is an F6 value play. I don't think there's any world where I'm attacking with Mutavault next turn, so I'm not going to expose it to their wasteland. Oh, they could have drawn Dark Ritual, which would be sort of neat here. Oh, they're fetching to play around an opposition agent from my side of the table. Alright, so they drew a land for turn. I think I'm just going to take their body. They can't pressure my Lily. That bodes well for me. Alright. Lily time? I think it's Lily time. The surgicals are a little awkward here. Because I want to Lily plus get rid of this Bloodghast this turn. But if I do that, it get like the Bloodghasts get surgicaled. And my opponent like will look at my deck and see what's going on. So I think it's correct to actually do Asylum Visitor. And then next turn I can try to like plus discard Bloodghast, play Marsh Flats. If they surgical it, I can fetch. And then they would have to like second surgical. I guess I also had that option next turn. No, I will not cast that. I'm out of mana. They can now make a 1/1 spirit creature token with flying at instant speed to pressure my planeswalker. Oh no. In all seriousness, though, Kaya's Guile is kind of sweet. Fun, again, playing around opposition agent. Oh, okay. They discarded one surgical, which means that this Bloodghast is now safe. Oh, they're gonna use the Kaya's Guile mode to exile it instead of making a critter. Right? Exile Graveyards is one of these. Okay. So they can still get it with surgical then. They didn't surgical there? Oh, interesting. I guess I want to like hold that card to protect something else. I've already played my land. I've already activated Lily. Vault. Get in there, bud. Yeah, Malfi, I don't know if that was an oops. Like, they have a surgical, right? Like, they know that's something that they could do. I think they might be trying to protect something that's in their hand. Because protecting a card, like, say, a Bob or a Stoneforge Mystic or a piece of equipment is actually really important. Whereas, like, a 2/1 Bloodghast maybe isn't. Like, I'm willing to fight over a Bloodghast with a fetch land, but I don't know that I'd be willing to use actual cards to protect it. Strong. Notably, naming Vampire turns Mutavaults into 1/1s as well. This is super awkward. I can Lily minus, and that kills a spirit token, and then Plague Engineer or Liliana dies to Plague Engineer. So I think it's actually better for me to just plus this here, rather than kill a spirit with it. This probably gets that surgical extraction out of their hand. It's him to Turok. I'm going to use Bloodghast's ability. Now I can't like do any sort of double block Mutavault shenanigans. Maybe my opponent won't attack with the Plague Engineer, forgetting that it's a vampire. They figured it out. We'll just go ahead and plus the is that true? No, I guess I want to Thoughtseize, take that card, and then Edict them, get rid of the spirit. Because Lily dies next turn either way, unless I chump block with a Mutavault, which is not something that I want to do. Alright, now they are hard casting the Surgical Extraction on Bloodgust. I guess they were waiting to see something better. Also, I probably should have just considered conceding there so they don't see my deck. But I don't think this game is lost. I am not favored. I am very much not favored. But things can happen. Kaya's token. The Kaya's Guile Spirit token doing a lot of work quietly here. Oh, it's the game 2 and I'm down a game? Alright, maybe conceding is bad. Sorry, this is like round 9 of Magic I've played in the last couple hours. I did a marathon session and recorded a league with a green-white collected company deck before I did this league. I'm admittedly a wee bit fried. Oh, we're gonna lose to that if I don't answer that. I don't have much time here. Delta. Uh-oh. Dark Ritual. Well, Bob can't attack, so I'm only, like, technically taking 2 a turn. But, I probably don't get to accumulate 2 cards at the same time, which is the best way that I could break through this board. Oh, yeah, the Vintage Hate Bears League was awesome. That was just, like, a good time. Oh, shit, that's good. That's so good. That kills Bob, so I don't get buried by Bob, and then it can check Plague Engineer. Doesn't answer Plague Engineer in that, like, it takes it off the table, but it does mean that, like, after this turn, it doesn't get to attack for damage. So if they just draw some discard or something like that here, I'm actually in pretty good shape. If they put another body onto the battlefield this turn, though, that can live through Lily, I'm not in awesome shape. We're not far off, chat. We might get to that. Now, it's not as good as a 6/6 flying lifelinker, but a 5/5 flying lifelinker is also pretty legit. Oh man. Oh man. We might have stabilized. This is actually a very good draw. Alright, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 if... Well, no, I would have to pay 1 to animate my Mutavault. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, down to 5. Yeah. Alright, so we're getting close. I need another mana, and then if I'm willing to throw Mutavault away, I can get there. Or wait, no, this is black black. That doesn't really net me mana, right? Because all right. 3, 6, 7, 8. That seems sick. 3, 6. Yeah, 8. Didn't get opposition agent. Id is good. And now I can leave up like Mutavault for an edict. So you're telling me there's a chance. Opponent's flooding out a bit. That's obviously not the play they want to make, but they want their plague engineer to have some power. Also, lol. Yeah. On the draw, do I want to change anything? I don't think so. Like, the smallpox is tempting because it can answer something like a land and a bob at the same time. But, like, in games like that one, I want to be able to hardcast this as things go late. I don't know if that is correct for me to play smallpox. Especially when I end up, like, light on resources because I got hymned on turn one or something. Now my opponent has to, like, figure out, like, okay, now I actually know what you're doing. How do I sideboard versus that? Sorry, I'm gonna just... So, my previous roommate just started playing The Binding of Isaac. Uh, and while we were living together, I probably played 400 hours of that game in the living room. Like, he knows what's up. But now he's experiencing some of the ridiculous things that happen in that game on his own. And I keep getting humorous texts from him that are various versions of, like, I love this, or this is bullshit. I hate this. He's a completionist too, so he's probably gonna, like, try to do everything the game has to offer. But spoilers, I'm 600 or 700 hours deep into that, and I still don't have everything. Uh, so this hand can produce a turn 2 Vampire Nocturnus, or this hand can answer like a turn 1 Bob, but I don't really feel like this has a clear game plan towards winning. I think I'm going to mulligan this one. This hand does not have enough mana, but it has gas. I think that means I keep this. I don't want to go to 5 against the Hymn to Turok deck. I'm going to bin 1 Vampire Nocturnus. Yeah, if you're just starting a serious Legacy collection, I recommend documenting what you have and keeping it organized somehow. It doesn't matter what your system is, it just matters that you have a system. Because let me tell you, like, when you end up having tens of thousands of dollars worth of Legacy cards eventually, you want to know where they are and how many of them you have, especially when you get the opportunity to, like, pick up new cards from events. Like, you would love to be able to just pull up a Google Doc and say, like, oh, this is what I have. Ooh, I think my opponent has Surgical, and they're thinking about surgicaling my Sorins. But I think that's the only thing that they could be doing without any mana. So I spent a couple of years grinding on the SCG trade floor before I really became a serious player. And I made a lot of money doing that. Like, the reason why I'm able to play Legacy today is because for maybe a year or a year and a half while I was in grad school. I treated trading like a part-time job on the weekends, and I would just like go to opens, not play, like hang out, chat with people, jam legacy games, and trade. And like I made a lot of money doing that. So yes, you can acquire cards for the purposes of moving them away and make money by doing that. Just be aware that sometimes you make a wrong called shot and it stings. Let me tell you, I had an unhealthy number of Deathrite Shamans. I think I had 4 binder page front and back Deathrite Shamans when that card got banned in, I think it was Modern or something. And I took a hit. So because my opponent has a Liliana in play, I'm not just gonna like sacrifice, or I'm not just gonna throw the Bloodghast into play here for the sake of like trying to get value, because I also kind of think they have Surgical. I'm gonna use this Bloodghast as fodder for the Liliana plus. Um, Edict you, Lily plus discard Bloodghast fetch. I just don't think I can let Bob run wild. If they do have the Surgical, like I kind of think they do, my Bloodghast based play doesn't work. If it does work, it's sick. Or if they like discard Surgical to their Lily plus. Another Bob. Rude. Alright, Bloodghast. Good luck. There's a lot riding on you here. Don't let us down. Oh, they had a redundant Lily. That means they still have Surgical. Probably. Oh, no. Alright, if Surgical is their last card, we're dead. Okay, their last card wasn't Surgical. They just had a long pause for some reason on turn 1 then. Oh, this hymn is a little late. So I think the Lily dies here. I think the Bob is so much more valuable than Lily. We'll see if they agree. They agree. So the thing about this is, like, I have something in play that can trade with Bob, and then my opponent can like just find any other creature, and like they'll have a Jitte counter hanging around after they kill Nighthawk, or they can just find something like a Fatal Push is a bad example, but some spot removal spell to get Nighthawk out of the way, or they could just play more patiently. Um, my best draw is probably just to land Flute Vampire Nocturnus into play and turn creatures sideways. Getting Vampire Nocturnus into play before Jitte counters happen would be really cool. But it doesn't look like we live in that timeline. The one counter kills Nighthawk, another counter can kill Bloodghast. If they want. I don't know that that's actually a good play. I think like just saving the other Jitte counter is better. Oh, no. Alright, yeah. Our opponent has better haymakers than we do. Alright. So step 1, have them not activate Jete in response to me casting this. Step 2, let there be a black card on top. Okay, we got a little lucky there. Opponent did not play around the, like, weird pumpiness of Vampire Nocturnus. We might be able to drag this game out and just win. Although opponent can just equip Jete and pass. I have this Mutavault, which can become huge if my opponent taps Wasteland. This is pretty tense. Oh, they tapped Wasteland. Oh, man. Bomb! Alright, please black card. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Notably here, if my opponent blocks Vampire Nocturnus, they take 8. Oh, we have gotten the GGs from the opponent. Alright. We're doing it. Like, this is the point where we're at least 60% with vampires in Legacy. Okay, so this hand has discard, but no real plan to win, so I'm gonna go ahead and mulligan. Uh, this hand also has no plan to win. Like, I can play a Blind Therapy and a Sorin with nothing to do with it. This doesn't work. What have I done to anger you, Mono Black Gods? What have I done? Uh, I can keep a 4-lander that has Thoughtseize, or I can go to 4 cards. Alright, what was opponent's last deck that they were playing? I'll bite. What was it? Okay, the last thing they were playing was some sort of ridiculous Planeswalker control deck. 1 Thoughtseize is not going to beat that. Get 4 of these. Land. Therapy. Or like... Alright, I have to keep this. That goes back, this goes back. This goes back. Just go like... Dark Ritual 2-drop, discard a Bloodghast, get there, question mark. It's not a good plan. This is not what you mulligan to 4 to do. Don't need to discard it this turn. I can just discard it next turn. It's worth a point of damage then. I've never seen this art. Alright, yeah, so I think my opponent is playing a Planeswalker pile. I think it's more likely that they're like the like Dak Faden Arn. What the? This is like a Scars of Mirrodin draft card, right? That was like barely playable there. All right, you have my curiosity. So they're gonna imprint an artifact and play a bunch of artifact mana, and like, what are we doing after that? I'm slightly aroused and curious. I guess technically I should have considered not playing that land and treating it as like a shock. It could be anything. I have no idea what's coming. Well, this is cool as fuck. I do just have my opponent dead next turn. I just discard whatever card I draw. Holy shit, vampires! If we go 4-1 with vampires, I'm gonna lose my mind. I think just anything that makes my opponent discard it is probably good. Like, they play out their artifact mana, I grab their PO. I don't know. Maybe they have enough artifact mana that Smallpox doesn't make sense, and, like, aggroing them down is better. I'm just so on the fence about, like, being able to actually play Smallpox. Alright. Junk that. Junk 2 of these? Maybe junk 2 of these. Maybe go down on Nocturnus? It just, like, stomps people sometimes, though. Like, playing that, like, might represent a lot of haste damage, but it is 4 mana. I think I like the cheaper cards better. And I think just the additional point of power is better than the lifelink. I will keep this for sure, especially after my opponent mulligans. Also, hold up. Didn't I mulligan to, like, 4? Did I mulligan to 5 or 4? Because, like, we won that. That makes it even crazier. Alright, so my opponent mulliganed to a Leyline, and I'm just gonna, like, him them, Liliana them. JK, I will take whatever card you have right now. Oh! Oh! Opponent's deck is fucking sick, though. I mad respect it. Do I him that card? They can't cast it, whatever it is. It could be important. It could be like a PO. No. I think I wasteland them. I think I wasteland them and then try to get a 2-for-1 with him to Turok next turn. Oh yeah. Alright, they had Semblance Anvil that previous turn. This is gross. I am a bully. We are bullying with vampires, which is surprising to everyone involved. Oh my god. We 4-1? How? Ow. Alright. Ben D is apparently a genius. I I don't understand. Like, I'm gonna have to redo my thumbnail, I think. Alright. Like, I gotta put that record on there or something. Like, I don't know how we won, but we did it. And minus that whole miserable time in the middle versus Snow, that was actually a really interesting league. We played against a bunch of brews, which honestly is probably part of the reason why, like, we had our own success. But we did it. All right, YouTube, if you made it this far, please, consider the whole like, comment, subscribe thing. Helps out my content a whole lot more than you possibly know. And remember, if you want the deck list to try this out, or you're interested in donating, that information is always below the video. Click show more if you can't see it. Have a great rest of the day. Oh yeah, a smallpox in the sideboard was probably questionable, and I probably want more copies of Vampire Nighthawk if I'm going to play this again. Like, I don't think we ever brought this card back from the graveyard, so maybe this should just be something else. There's probably improvements to be made here, but I don't know the vampire cards well enough to know what those improvements are.